You think what you own is yours. In a real crisis, that assumption gets you cleaned out. The government has done this before. In 1933, it seized the gold in private hands. Today, standing orders let it ration your fuel and your food. Most people never see it coming. They lose everything to a clipboard and a knock. You won't. I'm going to show you the 5 things the government takes first, and I'm going to show you how a veteran keeps everyone. The 5th one is the one nobody prepares for. Start with cash and metals. This is the one people laugh off. Then they read the history. In 1933, your own government did exactly this. Executive Order 6102 forced Americans to hand over their gold, coins, bullion, certificates, all of it. The Federal Reserve paid $20.67 per troy ounce. Refuse, and you faced $10,000 in fines. You faced up to 10 years in prison. Then comes the part that should make you sit up. The Gold Reserve Act revalued gold to $35 per troy ounce. The people who obeyed got paid the low number. The government kept the upside. That's not a theory. That's the record. Here's what most people get wrong. They keep their wealth where the system can reach it. Their savings sit in a bank. Their emergency cash sits in a safe deposit box. It feels responsible. It feels safe. It isn't. A bank holiday closes that door in a single morning. In 1933, every bank in the country shut for about 1 week. No withdrawals, no access to your box. Your money still existed, but you couldn't touch a dollar of it. If a crisis freezes the banks, that box is worthless to you. It's a single point of failure. And a trained mind never accepts a single point of failure. Understand what a safe deposit box really is. It isn't insured by the bank. It isn't federally protected the way your checking balance is. When the doors lock, the contents lock with them. People learned this the hard way in the 30s. They watched their own money sit behind glass they couldn't reach. Don't be that person. The only wealth you truly control is the wealth in your own hands, in your own hiding spots, recorded on no ledger anywhere. So here's what you do instead. You disperse. You never keep it all in one place. You split your metals and your cash across several hidden caches, some at home, some off your property, never all in one spot, and you keep part of it in small denominations. Junk silver is your friend here. Coins minted before 1965 are 90% silver. Dimes and quarters you can trade one at a time. Small, tradable, recognizable. If the dollar wobbles, that silver still buys bread. You don't hand a 1-ounce gold bar to a man selling water. You hand him a single silver dime. Now think about what this actually buys you. One asset, many jobs. It's wealth you can carry out the door in a hurry. It's barter when the card readers stop working. It's a way past a checkpoint. It's a fee for a favor nobody else can call in. It's the difference between begging and dealing. Cash and metal do all of that, and they never need a signal or a battery. Remember, gold and silver have held their value for thousands of years. Paper currency comes and goes with the government that prints it. And here's the part people miss. Discretion is the real vault. It isn't the thickness of your safe, it's the fact that nobody knows the safe is there. You don't post about it. You don't brag at the range. You don't tell a neighbor about the coins in the wall. The man who talks is the man who gets the visit. The government, a looter, an enforcer counting hoards, none of them can take what none of them can find. Silence is armor. Wear it. Hiding metals goes far deeper than one video, so I've put everything I know into a printable guide linked in the first line below. Now the one everybody expects. Your firearms. You already know why you own them. Self-defense, hunting, deterrence. But this chapter isn't about owning them. It's about keeping them when someone with authority comes to take them. And that isn't hypothetical either. 2005. Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans. Police and National Guard units went house to house. They took firearms from lawful owners, people who broke no law, people who only wanted to defend a flooded home. It was so plainly wrong that Congress had to act. In 2006, they passed the Disaster Recovery Personal Protection Act. It bars this kind of confiscation during a declared emergency. That law exists for one reason. The seizure it forbids already happened to Americans on American streets. Here's the civilian mistake: one safe, one location, right there in the bedroom closet. It's heavy, it's locked, and it feels like security. It isn't. That safe is the first place any search team opens. It's bolted down and obvious. If they knock and they're determined, everything you own sits behind one door they already found. That's a single point of failure. Again, see the pattern forming? Concentration is the enemy. Here's what a trained hand does instead. You separate ready from reserve. You keep a working set close, the tools you'd actually reach for tonight. Then, you keep a reserve somewhere else entirely. Off-site, below ground, sealed away. Military caching doctrine has taught this for decades. Special forces operators learn to bury supplies in protected containers across several sites. You do the same thing on your own ground. A sealed tube, desiccant inside to kill the moisture, a coat of protective oil on the metal, buried where the weather and the searchers never reach. And don't forget the ammunition. A firearm with no rounds is just a club. Ammo is heavy, it gets tracked, and it's the first thing that runs dry. So you cache it the same way you cache the guns. Sealed containers, cool, dry, spread across more than one spot. You keep a working supply on hand and a deeper reserve you never touch. Your purchases stay quiet. Big, bragged about ammo runs put you on a list you never want to be on. And be clear about the stakes. In New Orleans, the people who lost their guns lost their only means of defense. In a flooded, lawless city, that's everything. They didn't get those firearms back for weeks, and some never did. A dispersed reserve means you're never fully disarmed. Take one set, and another still waits underground. That's the whole point. You never let anyone leave you with nothing. Think about what that reserve gives you. It's insurance if the primary set is lost or taken. It's a fallback you can dig up when you need it most. It's a barter asset in the worst case. It's a way to arm someone you trust. And it's leverage you hold quietly without a single soul knowing you hold it. And this is where discretion returns. Paper is a trail. The more registration, the more receipts, the more online chatter, the straighter the line runs to your door. So you keep the trail short. You don't announce the count. You don't show the collection to visitors. The whole point of a cache is that it appears on no list anywhere. What isn't on a list can't be requisitioned off one. Remember that. Food and water. This is survival at its most basic. It's also squarely on the government's list. Executive Order 13,603 names all food resources and all usable water as things the government can allocate. Back in 1962, Executive Order 10,998 handed food, farm equipment, and fertilizer to the Secretary of Agriculture. And if rationing sounds foreign to you, look at your own grandparents. World War II ran on ration books, sugar, coffee, meat, all controlled, all measured out by the government, ounce by ounce. Here's how most preppers get it wrong. They build one beautiful pantry, floor-to-ceiling shelves, everything labeled, everything on display. It looks like readiness. It photographs well for the internet. And it's a target. One room holds everything you have. Anyone who sees it knows exactly what you're sitting on. A looter, a hungry neighbor, an enforcer counting hoards under an anti-hoarding rule. You've shown your whole hand in a single glance. Single point of failure, one more time. The veteran way is dispersal and a low profile. You split your stores, some in the pantry, some under the floor, some in a closet nobody thinks twice about, some off the property entirely. If one cache is found, you don't lose everything. You lose a slice, and you carry on. Your water gets the same treatment, not one big tank sitting in the open. Several smaller stores tucked in different spots. You spread the risk the same way you spread the supply. Now get specific about your water, because water kills you fastest. You need roughly 1 gallon per person per day, and that's just to scrape by. A family of 4 burns through a lot in a single week. So you never lean on one source, you store it in several places, and you keep a way to purify more. Filters and purification drops turn a found stream into safe water. Food you can stretch for weeks on short rations. Water you cannot. Miss this, and nothing else on your shelves matters, and rotate what you store. Canned goods, dry staples, sealed water, all of it has a shelf life. You use the oldest first and replace it so nothing sits until it spoils. A stockpile you never touch is a stockpile that quietly rots. The veteran treats the pantry like a working system, not a monument. It lives, it turns over, and it stays ready. Then you manage what the world gets to see. This is the gray man idea, and it wins more often than any lock. You look ordinary, unremarkable. Your trash looks like everyone else's trash, not like a house emptying case after case of rations. You don't run bright lights when the whole block is dark. You don't cook a feast the neighbors can smell in the middle of a famine. The house that looks average gets passed over. The house that looks stocked gets remembered and gets visited. Think about what those hidden stores actually do for you. They feed your family first, always. But they also buy you time, and time is the rarest thing in any crisis. Time to think. Time to plan your next move while others panic. They're barter when the shelves go bare. They're calm in your chest when everyone around you is desperate. Food isn't just fuel for your body, it's leverage and it's peace of mind. As long as nobody knows, you have a single can of it. Pay attention to this one. This is the item that separates the trained from the rest. Fuel and power. When the grid dies and the pumps run dry, power becomes king. And Executive Order 13,603 names all forms of energy as a resource the government can allocate. This isn't new. In the oil embargo of 1973 and again in 1979, Americans lined up for gas, odd and even license plates, rationed fuel, long lines and short tempers. Open, easy fuel became controlled, limited fuel almost overnight. So here's the trap almost everyone walks straight into. They buy one generator, a big loud one. They fill one gas can, and the moment the lights go out, they fire it up right there on the porch. Now stop and picture that scene. It's the 5th night of a blackout. The whole street is pitch dark and dead silent. And your house is roaring. Your windows are glowing gold. You've just announced one thing to every desperate person and every passing patrol. This address has fuel. This address has power. This address has supplies worth taking. That's not preparedness. That's a beacon. And this is where military fieldcraft changes everything for you. It's called noise and light discipline. On an operation, you deny the enemy any signature at all. No sound, no light, nothing that gives away your position or your strength. You apply that exact rule at home. Having power is worthless if having power paints a target on your roof. Here's what you do instead. First, you disperse the fuel. Not one big can. Several smaller ones spread across different spots, some buried, some off your property. Lose one, and you haven't lost them all. And you stabilize it because raw gasoline goes stale and useless. A good fuel stabilizer keeps it usable for a year or more, and you rotate it so your supply stays fresh. And don't sleep on propane. It stores for years without going bad, unlike gasoline. A row of small tanks in a shed runs a heater, a stove, and a lamp for a long time. You spread those out too. Different spots, out of sight, never one big obvious tank next to the house. The goal never changes, enough capability to live well, not one bit of it visible to the street, and run the numbers on it. One loud generator burns fuel fast and screams for miles. A modest solar and battery setup runs silent for years on sunlight alone. One costs you cover every single night. The other costs you nothing once it's in place. The civilian buys the loudest machine on the shelf. The trained hand buys quiet and buys it once. Then you kill the signature. If you run a generator, you run it in short controlled bursts. Inside a muffled enclosure, not out in the open all night long. Better still, you go silent. A solar panel and a battery bank make power with zero sound and zero exhaust. No roar, no glow, no smell of gasoline drifting down the block to a hungry stranger. You charge your radios. You run one light behind blackout curtains. You keep your food cold, and nobody outside your walls ever knows a thing. Think about how much that quiet setup covers for you. It's heat in the cold. It's light you control. It's refrigeration for medicine and food. It's a way to charge the communications gear you're going to need next. One quiet system does the work of a loud one without the risk the loud one carries. The loud generator hands you comfort and steals your cover. The silent system hands you both. That's the whole difference between the civilian move and the trained move. Same power, none of the exposure. Here's the fifth thing, the one I promised you. It isn't guns. It isn't gold. It's your ability to communicate. Most people never even think of it as something the government can seize. It is. Section 706 of the Communications Act gives the President emergency power over wire and radio. You'll find it at Title 47, Section 606 of the United States Code. He can suspend it. He can control it. He can shut stations down. Executive Order 13,618 spreads those communications powers across the government. In a real emergency, the airwaves themselves are on the table. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They bet everything on one device, the cell phone. It's your map, your news, your lifeline, your whole world in one hand, and it's the single most fragile thing you own. Networks go down in a storm. They overload in a panic when everyone dials at once. They can be controlled in a declared emergency. The moment that screen goes dark, most people are blind. No news, no family, no coordination, just silence and rumor. Single point of failure, one final time. The veteran answer is a plan and a backup. In the military, it's called PACE, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. You never rely on one channel for anything that matters. You line up your fallbacks before you ever need them. When the phone dies, you already know what comes next. A simple radio, a handheld unit you've actually practiced with, something that works when the towers don't. Now get concrete about your gear. A basic handheld radio costs very little and asks nothing of the grid. Learn your local emergency channels now, not later in the dark. A simple license opens up more range and more options. You don't need a tower, a bill, or a company's permission to use it. When the network is down or controlled, that little radio becomes your window on the world. And it fits in a pocket, and you protect it. A strong electromagnetic pulse can fry unshielded electronics in an instant, so you keep a backup radio in a Faraday enclosure. It can be as simple as a sealed metal container that blocks the pulse. Your primary radio lives out in the world with you. Your backup lives, protected, waiting, ready for the day the lights in the towers both go down. And think about the failure the other way. The man who's glued to a dead phone hears nothing and knows nothing. He waits for a signal that never comes. You won't be him. You'll have a channel he doesn't. While he guesses, you'll already know what's happening 2 towns over. That gap decides who moves first and who moves too late. Now here's the discipline most people skip. You listen far more than you talk. Receive first. Every time you transmit, you reveal that you exist and roughly where you are. So you keep it brief. You keep it low power. You keep it local. You gather information without broadcasting your own. A prearranged schedule helps here. You and your people agree on a time and a channel in advance, so you barely have to transmit at all. Think about what that gives you when it counts. It's intelligence when the news is gone. It's contact with family when the phones are dead. It's early warning when trouble starts moving your way. It's coordination while everyone else is guessing in the dark. The person who can still hear and still reach out holds the real advantage. In a blackout, information is the rarest supply there is, and you'll still have yours. So here's the truth. The government takes what it can find. Metals, guns, food, fuel, and the very airwaves are all on that list. Every one of them survives the same way, through dispersal, silence, and no single point of failure. I've laid the whole playbook out in the guide linked below, ready to print before you ever need it. So tell me, which of these 5 would you protect first?